Hey there, this is Trey Callaghan with Crew Lending. I cannot believe it's been 50 episodes. Congratulations, Paige. Congratulations, everybody that's been a part of the show, especially you watching, thousands of people that have watched the show over the past couple of years. So, hey, if you've even thought about having a lake home, I would love to personally pre-approve you and make that dream a realization. Call me today.
We survived the eclipse and we love Lake Martin.
Hey everybody, if you don't know who I am, I'm Mitchell Miller. I am the executive producer and videographer for the Love Lake Martin show. As you can see, I'm in my office. It's been a little crazy. My wife and I just moved into a new house. A lot of stuff has been happening, but I wanted to take an opportunity. This is episode 50. We've been doing this for 2 years. And I just wanted to go, and this is actually my last episode. The show is continuing. I'm excited to see where it's going to go with some new vision into it. But halfway through this Love Lake Martin journey, I went back to college, and so I have gotten a new degree, and I have gotten a new job, a full-time job, and so I just don't have the time to continue doing the show as I would like. So the show is going to go on, as they say, but I'm excited to see where it's going to go. But before that, I just wanted to celebrate 50 episodes. I was always a fan of watching Food Network, Travel Channel. I love watching those little, short episodes that give you a flavor of, a certain area or a certain restaurant. And so I kind of thought I would love to see that with Lake Martin. And here's the secret. I had never been to Lake Martin. Before we filmed an episode, I had never even stepped foot in Alexander City. Never been. So for me, I was viewing this area for the first time through this show. And so for the 50th episode, I kind of want to go back and kind of revisit my top 5 segments of the show. There's a lot of great stuff we did on the show, and I'm not saying that these 5 segments are the best we've ever done or the most popular. They're my personal top 5, and I'll explain as we go through them why they're my top 5. And I have ranked them from 5 to 1, but they're all great segments. I'm proud of everything we've done on the show. The most surprising thing for me doing this show, the biggest thing that surprised me was the people. And I think that's what separates Lake Martin from a lot of different areas, is that there is such a wide variety of people at the lake. I'm talking, politically different groups of people, ethnically, economically. There's $4 million homes, and then there's cabins that are, I don't know what the cost is, but not 4 million. It's a big range. And the thing to me about that lake is that when people are at the lake, it's a different attitude. It's we're coming together, we're on the lake, let's just have fun. When you get on that water, it doesn't matter where you're from, who you are. It's a community that's not like anything else I've really experienced before. So that was my biggest surprise, and that's what I'll take away. Let's take a look back at the last 2 years of Love Lake Martin, the last 50 episodes, and I'll tell you what my top 5 things are. So coming in at number 5, and if you want to see any of these segments or episodes in full, all of our episodes are up at lovelakemartin.com. You can go and look at all the archive. Every episode we've ever done is on there. Number 5 comes from episode 34, titled Girl Scouts. We did a segment called Are You Smarter Than a Girl Scout? And the thing that really stuck out to me, and this is why it's my number 5, is before I started going into videography, I work for a nonprofit, and we did after school instruction and things like that. And I loved working with kids. I loved kids learning and getting experience with new things, and especially technology and video, stuff they didn't have an opportunity to do a lot. For some of these kids, it was a once in a lifetime experience to be a part of a video shoot. It's just crazy. And they did so well, and it was so fun. As you can see here, there's all kinds of things we did with the girls, dramatic stuff, different scenes we shot.
Wait, there are two of you?
A Girl Scout never goes out in the woods without a buddy.
That's number 5 for me. It was great to see the girls interact with the camera and be able to, be a part of something they'd never been a part of before. It was really neat. All right, so number 4, it was episode 12, Best Worst Movie.
Yeah, Mitchell just had a complete total freak out when he realized who George Hardy is. Tell them who you are.
Well, I'm actually the dad from the worst film ever made, probably in the history of all cinema, called Troll 2. And I was living in Salt Lake, and I had a patient that said to me, why don't you go up to Park City and audition for this film in Park City? And I said, oh, what the heck, why not? So I go up, and sure enough, I get the lead role in the film as the lead dad, the hero dad. And now from that, it's become this cult phenomenon. And Michael says, George, there's a huge, parties about Troll 2 and all this. So Michael and I decided to with our organically put together a documentary called Best Worst Movie, which was really cool.
And getting to meet him, it was so crazy. And I actually just ran into George at the Sidewalk Film Festival in Birmingham this year. It was great to catch up with him again. And this was a great segment for me personally, my number 4 from Best Worst Movie, episode 12. So number 3 comes from episode 25, Just Keep Skiing. And this was a big surprise for me. I was so honored to be able to film this episode. We featured in this episode a skiing couple, Bill and Doris Scouten, and they were, I think Bill's almost 90 now. They were both in their 80s when we filmed it last year, and we talked to them about all their past. They're competitive skiers, and they do trick skiing, all kinds of different events. Their whole family is into skiing. We get to talk about that and where it came from and who is continuing to do it in the family. But the biggest thing for me is that we actually got to film Bill skiing, and it was amazing. I was blown away to be able to film this. And, he kind of told me before we got in the water, this is probably a one-take thing because when he skis, he doesn't ski that much. So he's kind of like, pressure's on a little bit for me. But I loved filming this, and I've watched this, sometimes you get in the editing booth and it takes you so long to edit just because you keep rewatching it and you're looking at it. I'm like, this is amazing. I loved being able to be a part of that. So that is my number 3, episode 25, Just Keep Skiing. Number 2 is episode 41, River Runs Through It. Now, this is a more recent episode, but what really stands out to me is what didn't make the cut for the episode. Paige hates snakes. She's made it well known on the show she absolutely hates snakes. In this episode, Robin decided to play a trick, and we were all in on it because Paige, we filmed Paige, doing a picnic scene, and we were all on the boat, and she said, hey, I got a fake snake, I'm gonna do something with it, and so we were all in on it. Jenny, her business coach, was there. She was in on it. You can see how she reacts to it. I'm just gonna show the video. We never showed it on the episode. This is never before seen. Let's look. In the shade.
It was really okay. The rocks
Yeah.
were not cold.
I mean, they weren't hot.
Yeah.
Were they hot? Because they're
weren't
dark.
hot.
They're dark, so I was just
Uh-huh.
curious.
I didn't have any trouble sitting down, and I would have felt pretty chilly.
Oh gosh, what is that?
Oh my gosh! Oh! Oh! Get it off, Paige!
Where is it?
Stop that!
can't even move. What are we doing here?
So that was, I watched that so many times, and I was trying to figure out when I could get it into an episode, and I'm glad we can finally put it on this one. So that's my number 2, episode 41, River Runs Through It. You won't see that clip in that episode, but there's a lot of good stuff in there that we couldn't show today, so go check it out. So my number 1, episode 19, Ready, Set, Sail, we featured the Dixie Sailing Club. And I thought it was a really good episode for us. It featured a side of the lake we hadn't got to show yet. You think of jet skis, tubing, boats, fishing. Sailing probably isn't the first thing to think of when you think of lake for most people. But there's a big sailing community at Lake Martin, so we wanted to showcase that. But for me personally, I had never been sailing before. I had never sailed, but I had a roommate in college who was big into sailing. His family was big into sailing. We talked back and forth about sailing. I always kind of thought that I would do it. We talked about doing it. It never happened. And so this was just an example of the kind of things that I got to do because I filmed the Love Lake Martin show. I got to sail for the first time. It was a big deal for me. That's why it ranks up number 1 in my moments, because it was something I always thought I was going to do, and then I just thought it would never happen. It kind of left my mind, and then all of a sudden, here we are. I'm sailing at Lake Martin. It was a great moment. I think it was a great episode, so that is my number 1 moment of the last 2 years. It was close. All these top 5s are my favorites, but everything we've done I've been very proud of. I don't think there's anything we've done on the show that I would go back and say I wish we hadn't done. So many experiences, so many great things, and I'm excited to see where the show goes in the future. But what I would say is this: if you haven't been to Lake Martin before, like for instance my dad, we just recently did an episode with my dad. We recently did an episode for him. He watched the episode. He was like Love Lake Martin's biggest fan. He had never been to Lake Martin either. I mean, it took him 46 episodes, and he finally came, and he loved it. And so if you haven't been to Lake Martin, if you haven't been there to check out what it is, I'm telling you, it's not like, I've been around lakes before. We've gone to different lakes. This is different. It is a different lake. It's a different environment. It's a different community. Definitely come check it out. That's what I would say. If you haven't seen it, if you've watched an episode and said, I'd like to do that, do it. If you just want to see the lake, definitely see it. You got to check it out.
Sold in one day, and we love Lake Martin.
What an opportunity to have Mitchell's dad here, Mr. Clyde Miller. And, your son means the world to me. He came up with this idea to start this crazy online show about 2 years ago and kind of let the world know what all goes on with Lake Martin. And I looked at him like he was crazy, but as convincing as Mitchell usually is, I said, okay, let's try it. And so 2 years later, and probably more than 2 million views, at some times we have had up to 55,000 people watch his episodes.
Wow.
I
didn't realize that.
Yes.
Cool.
And you should know he talks about you almost every month. And you're a fisherman, right?
Yes, I love fishing.
And you love the lake.
I love the lake.
And you go on a yearly lake
Fishing
trip.
Mm-hmm.
So where all have you been?
We went to Reelfoot Lake, Tennessee, like 2 or 3 years in a row. And we went to Gunnersville and Lake Chickamauga. And we're going back to Lake Chickamauga next year. And the next year after that might be Lake Martin.
Okay, we got to have a Lake Martin in there
we're
somewhere.
shooting for.
Okay.
But I have people coming all the way from northern Indiana, so it is a long drive for them. But
Okay.
I think they see some of these pictures, they might change their mind.
That's right. That's right. So, Mitchell says you do watch the show,
Yes.
which we really appreciate. Do you have a favorite episode or segment?
The one where it wasn't raining. No, I like probably the favorite one was when you had the fishing guide out. And he's talking about catching big striper fish.
Nice.
And of course, that's my thing. So
Exactly. That should have got your
that-
wheels turning.
It did.
Well, David Hare has been an advertiser, sponsor with our show several months, and good to know. We'll have to get you hooked up with David because he can get you some of the big ones.
Yeah, that would be great.
So we are launching Mitchell into the real world. He graduates from UAB in August.
August.
I know you have to be proud of all the hard work.
Oh yes, I am very proud of him.
Is there anything you want to say about Mitchell and launching him into the real world?
Actually, I'm not really worried about him launching into the real world because he's went through quite a few worlds getting where he's at.
That's the truth, isn't
So
it?
one more is not going to hurt him, I don't think.
Well, that's right.
I'm really not worried about it.
No,
And I just wish him best of luck, though.
we all do. He,
I'm sure he'll do well.
well, he has a great example, and we do wish you well, Mitchell. This would never have happened without you, and we love you as much as we love Lake Martin. Hello, this is Paige Patterson with Lake Martin Voice Realty, and this is one reason why I love Lake Martin. Meet Mr. Mitchell Miller with Rogue Marketing, here to take in all the beauty of Lake Martin. We are looking for people who would be interested in sharing your best Lake Martin memory. Call me or private message me on Facebook, and always like Love Lake Martin on Facebook.